What's up guys, it's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm back to give you part 2 on the artifacts of the traitorous legion, beginning with the Word Bearers. So during the long war against the Imperium of the False Emperor, the Word Bearers have come to favor a number of artifacts that serve as symbols of blasphemous hate to their unholy cause, such as the Skull of Monarchia. The destruction of Monarchia at the hands of the Ultramarines was all but total. A few relics remain from that time, however. The artifact known as the Skull of Monarchia is foremost amongst them. The only intact cranium that remained after the utter destruction visited upon the Word-Bearer's perfect city. Chased with precious metals and protected with powerful force fields, it is a constant reminder of the destruction that turned the Word-Bearers upon the path of rebellion and damnation. All those nearby find their hatred of the Imperium swelling to new heights. The Crown of the Blasphemer. Adorned with the finger bones of the defiant men and anointed with the blood of unbelievers, the Crown of the Blasphemer attracts the attention of warp entities to the wearer. Whether these demonic creatures are keeping him alive for their own entertainment, or because there is some purpose he has yet to fulfill on their behalf. Upon the battlefield, the kingly figure beneath the crown is extremely difficult to harm. Powered blades are turned away at the last moment by invisible hands. Thunderous volleys of bullets find themselves snatched into the ether at the last moment, and enemy warriors find their minds assailed with visions of a galaxy in flames. The Malefic Tome. This blasphemous tome has been stitched together from the flayed skins of a dozen mortal psychers. These dabblers in the arcane signed their own death warrants, for though they took every precaution in their dealings with demons, they made their locations known to those chaos worshippers who walk the material world at will. Each leathery page still bears the hairs and birthmarks of the book's unwilling donors, their horror at the mistake they made still emanating from every inch of stolen skin. This book leaves are inscribed with true names, hexagrammic diagrams, and demonic hierarchies that enable the bearer a measure of influence over his warp-spawned allies. The Scripts of Erebus. Copied with painstakingly care by the first of the traitorous Dark Apostles, the Scripts of Erebus were inscribed in blood, bearing traces of Logar's vitals. The rituals and imprecations of these long parchments are potent messages in the dark tongue. When read aloud, they can channel the energy of the Empyrean into real space with a staggering degree of stability, allowing the bearer to unleash a myriad of unnatural deaths upon his enemies, or else banish the powers of their enemies' worn warpcraft. Though the scripts are rendered invisible by each reading, a journey into the warp causes them to blossom into being once more, ready to unleash fresh carnage upon the worlds of men. The Cursed Crozius. This was once the rod of office for a founding member of Logar's chaplains, one of the first of its kind to be sent into the Legion Astartes in order to watch for signs of sedition. In truth, it has always been a weapon of arch-traitors. First used in anger to bludgeon an ex-librarian Traitor of the White Scars to death, it still bears the indelible stains of that first treacherous kill to this day. Those chaos worshippers nearby are instilled with all the knowledge they need to slay the loyalist thralls of the corpse god. Conversely, those who bear the mark of the Emperor find the crozius every swing, unerringly seeking out the weak spots in the armor. Onwards to the chaotic artifacts of the Thousand Suns. The Astral Grimoire. The Astral Grimoire contains the magic of the stars. Its geometrically inscribed constellations and cosmic diagrams imbuing it with so much astrological energy that it must be bound with chains to stop it from orbiting its owner as a moon orbits the planet. One in command of this powerful relic can escape the Quidician shackles of gravity. The powers of levitation and even flight are his to command. Seers' Bane. Seers' Bane is a demonic weapon quenched in the blood of a Grand Vizier and bound tight with 1,000 curses. Its magic-infused alloys form the prison for its disgraced Lord of Change, Malaki Rankatax, who once uttered an unvarnished truth in the presence of the Lord of Zeech. It is said that this ensorcelled weapon is the bane of learned men, and that it can cut through the minds of those it earns its master's ire as easily as it slices apart their flesh. The Helm of the Third Eye. Many of the Thousand Sons disciplines teach a mystical third eye that stares out from the forehead, seeing with far more than sight alone, and even staring into the souls of men. This helm incorporates a crystalline eyeball that allows the wearer to perceive the intent of those around him, giving him a chance to react before they even have committed to their next action. The Coruscator. Of all the warp-forged weapons carried to battle by the Thousand Sons, the Coruscator is the most revered. Since the time of the Horus Heresy, it has taken the lives of countless loyalist space marines, and its demonic spirit will take any chance to stoke the fires of hatred that eat away at the Imperium from within. When the trigger is pulled, it fires not bolts, but blinding helices of magical energy that punch a smoking hole through a target's torso. The edges of that grievous wound will glitter and burn until there is nothing left to consume. The Athenian Scrolls. The arch-sorcerer Ahriman consumed the knowledge contained in the Athenaeum of Callimachus long ago. However, not all of Athenaeum's founders were slain when the repository of knowledge was destroyed. Some of their Apollian disciples have been transcribed on sanctified papyrus in order to keep an echo of that great library in existence. One who possesses the so-called Athenian Scrolls has access to advanced psychic techniques that make his spells all but unstoppable. The blood-stained artifacts wielded by the champions of the World Eaters are items of incredible rarity, bestowing unrivaled killing powers upon those whose combat prowess is already vaunted as amongst the deadliest in the galaxy. The Talisman of Burning Blood. This bizarre relic constantly drips thick, bubbling gore. The air around it is so heavy with the stench of slaughterhouses that it has a stark effect on those nearby. The stink of carnage is so potent that they find themselves charging forward with a supernatural energy to slay all those before them. The Berserker Glaive. The bearer of this inordinately heavy, demon-infested killing tool is driven into a state of frenzy by the proximity of its red-hot steel. His fellow World Eaters treat him with great caution, shunning him as a dangerous maniac, even amongst his own bloodthirsty kind, while venerating him, from a distance, as a living totem of rage. A host of bloodletters are bound to this weapon's fabric, and by channeling the life essence of those it slays, the vampiric demon weapon ensures its isolated host can fight like a man possessed for weeks on end, healing his wounds so that he can continue the slaughter. Gorefather. This immense chain axe is said to have been wielded by Angron himself, though it was ultimately cast aside, just as with its partner weapon, Gorechild. It has since been returned to its former preeminence on a diet of sacred oil and spiced blood. This relic is of such immense importance to the Legion that wars have been fought between rival warbands seeking to claim it for themselves. One strong enough to have Gorefather can scythe his enemies into scattering explosions of blood and ruined flesh. The Crimson Killer. This ornate pistol fires blasts of crimson plasma that crackle with murderous power. Fierce energies ignite the body and soul alike, resulting in an explosive death for anyone unfortunate to be caught within its crossfires. Blood Feeder. Khorne cares not whence the blood flows, and this demon weapon is testament to that immortal truth. One struck by the ever-thirsting blade is immediately exsanguinated, reduced to a desolate husk, as its lifeblood is channeled into the lakes of gore that swirl around Khorne's brass stockade, as a sustenance for his juggernaut demon beasts. Woe besides he who does not answer its call. If the blade goes without this grisly harvest for long, it will gladly siphon away its wielder's blood instead. Nurgle's putrid blessing hangs heavy in the air about the Death Guard's most sacred relics, and proximity alone is often enough to infect those who breathe deeply of his noxious foulness. Pus Cleaver. Appearing as a particularly large plague knife, or more like a machete, Pus Cleaver bears the infamous gurgling doom contagion. One struck by the blade has not only to contend with part of their anatomy being hacked away, for its edge remains punishingly sharp, but also a wound so infected it balloons into a swollen mess in seconds. The afflicted individual kneels over a moment later, gurgling phlegm, as he finally realizes the glory of Nurgle's generosity. The Plague Skull of Glothilla. This oversized death head was once the skull of the Chaos Lord known as Glothilla. His dying wish was to become a weapon of purest evil. The Pandemic Staff. This rune-engraved artifact is long and pitted, moldering with a visible miasma of plague and entropy. Every one of its odd dents and holes harbors a deadly strain of contagion, one of Nurgle's old favorites, tried and proven. Collectively, the grotesque diseases that riddle the Pandemic Staff has seen trillions of lives ebb away to nothing, reduced to little more than fodder for the Grandfather's garden. When waved expansively, the staff can conjure forth a tide of hypertoxic fluids that could bring low even a rampaging pestigore. Dolores Knell. The clangor of this giant bell is painful to the ear, almost intrusive as its foul sounds push their sickening notes into the minds of those nearby. Each toll registers as a dull clank on the data harvest of recording devices, such as a vid thief's skull, but to hear it in person is quite another matter. Bravery is undone, and certainty ebbed away as the shambling horde of the Death Guard closes in, rendered as looming behemoths by the peals of the deathly knell. The Poxwalker Hive. Demon insects spill from the tubular chimney-like structures on the Poxwalker Hive. The incessant droning chatter of these tiny creatures acts as an infection in its own right, and those who willingly listen to it are at grave risk of contracting the Poxwalker's curse. Should they succumb, they will devolve into shambling mutant monstrosities, murmuring and babbling in the same fly-blown tongue as the hive itself. Plaguebringer. The hooked blade once bore the souls of a trio of beasts of Nurgle. Once the sword sprayed the virulent, infected spittle of these overexcitable demons with every swing. However, now those entities have been trapped so long in their rusted artifact that their lethally potent enthusiasm has drained away. It has been replaced with something even worse. After a long period of sulking, the blade's inhabitants became something else entirely. It now contains the malignant souls of 3 rotflies, that every chance to inflict a terrible wasting disease on those around them excites them even more. The Emperor's children bear some of the most disturbing artifacts of war, each crafted with flawless precision to kill and torment with unrivaled efficiency. The Intoxicating elixir. This concoction is so valuable that even a minute drop is worth a fortune. Some say that it is brewed by the master flesh crafters of Kamarov, others that it is nectar from Slaaneish's pleasure gardens, and some even go as far to say that it is indeed the blood of Fulgrim himself. This liquid is self-replenishing, and one who partakes of it harnesses dark physical power. The Emperor's children channel it into dispenser arrays, so that they can dump it into their bloodstream by the pint. Shriekwave. This ornate doom siren emits a thunderous bass boom and a hypermodulated scream, powerful enough to shatter a diamond. The sheer deafening power hits with a physical impact, blasting away any and all cohesive thoughts in an instant. Only those with a tremendous strength of will can hold mind and body together. Those who let their minds be swept away find their flesh, bone, and gristle reduced to a shuddering pulp by a myriad of resonant frequencies. The Soul Snare Lash. This fleshly whip has been marinated in the sweat of 6 Keeper of Secrets during their forbidden strife rituals. Barbed hooks run along its length, and its coils are warm yet unsettling to the touch. Should it ensnare a victim, the poor fool is consumed in an etheric fire that burns the soul from his body, snatching it away for an eternity of anguish in the 6 circles of Slaaneish's realm. The Endless Grin. This fleshy mask is the still living, flayed face of a man who begs Slaanesh to fulfill his wish to live forever. The Dark Prince was only too pleased to oblige, gifting the unfortunate soul immortality, but also forcing him to present his face to the Chaos Lord Shixi. After murdering the supplicant, Shixi wore that face as a prized reminder of the occasion for several centuries. The Endless Grin has since exchanged hands many times, but the potency of its anguish has never diminished. The Bolts of Ecstatic Vexation. Fired with a shrill howl, these strangely shaped mass reactive bolts contain not explosive charges, but a peculiar gas. Any who catch so much as a whiff of this vapor are driven into a hallucinogen fugue that all their dreams and nightmares mingle together into a kaleidoscope of intense sensation. Even the most fortified of bunkers, or saint of sanctum, is of little protection, for the winding tendrils of the pinkish hallucinogen seek out the same minds as a hungry felid seeks out fresh meat. Bliss Giver. This tongue-tipped whip can render those who feel its sting insatiable with indescribable pleasure. Even those who put aside gratification for a greater duty find their oaths and promises forgotten, washed away in a tide of sensation that drowns the mind completely. So it is to feel the kiss of Slaanesh. Through their lives are cruelly torn away almost immediately afterwards. For a few short moments they truly know ecstasy and agony intertwined. And with that brings us to the end of all the artifacts of the traitorous legions. Let me know what was your favorite one. Perhaps you like the disease-ridden artifacts of Nurgle, or maybe the sensual, pleasure-giving artifacts of Slaanesh and the Emperor's Children. Again, guys, let me know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to give me suggestions as to what other videos you guys would like to hear from One Mind Syndicate. And do not forget, we do have a Patreon page, so pledge a simple $1 and you will be rewarded with at least 4 videos extra a month to give you guys some more epic 40k content. And as always, guys, thank you, and let your chaotic bodies become cleansed, because Christmas and all the holidays are upon us. So once again, guys, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and all that awesome jazz. As always, I'm the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I am signing out.